If you like hyperpop, you've probably heard of GLAIVE. And honestly, how could you not? The dude's insanely talented. Most every outlet has said he is changing the face of hyperpop as we know it. And I'd believe it. At the age of 15 too. If you haven't listened to his song Astrid, do yourself a favor and go listen. After you've watched this video, of course, because I'm about to teach you how to make your own music sound exactly like GLAIVE. And not only that, I'll show you the relatively easy way to do it too. Obviously, I'm not encouraging you to copy GLAIVE, but I hope this video is a good starting point. Let's jump right into it. First and foremost, open up your DAW and set the BPM to around 150. In my last video, a lot of you asked if there was a way to do this on your phone, and there totally is. FL Studio makes a mobile version of their program, and it's actually pretty amazing. So if you don't have a computer that can run a music program or whatever, don't fret. A free alternative is an app called In-Track Studio, which is a lot more like Ableton, which I'm using here. Next, let's talk about what makes a GLAIVE song a GLAIVE song. In quite a few of his songs, GLAIVE has a spoken word opening. It isn't long, it just has to be something simple, something to set the mood. Hello? Keep it simple, but keep it authentic. This adds the bedroom producer hyperpop feel. Next, a ton of GLAIVE songs have a guitar intro. And actually, you don't need to know how to play guitar to make that intro. Just grab a loop. I grabbed this one from Josh J's Guitarist Dead Pack, and it has that somber minor key vibe that's essential to GLAIVE's vibe. Oh yeah, did I mention we're making the song in G minor? We are. During the lead up for the drop, GLAIVE tends to put a simple percussion loop, most notably in his song Arsenic. I just use the sound of a clock ticking like an arsenic, but you can add whatever you want. Once again, make this your song. This tutorial isn't to be copied directly, but rather to inspire you, to get you started. Adding a fill right before the drop is crucial, and thankfully Umru's Hyperpop sample pack has some amazing ones, such as this one. It isn't hyperpop if it doesn't hurt your ears just a little bit. Oh, by the way, I'll link all the sample packs I mentioned in the description down below. They're all in Splice. Now we can get into the most important part of the song, the drop. And funny enough, our drum loop actually comes from Umru's sample pack too. And usually I'd program my own drums, but I wanted to show you how just really not hard it is to get started making music like this, even if you don't have a ton of experience. Like, listen to this loop. It has an amazing kick, the hi-hats are awesome, the snares are separated perfectly. This is a great sample. And while I'm not saying you should always be using drum loops, there's no shame in starting here, in cutting your teeth here. So that's what we'll be going with. Now, GLAIVE tends to use big saw chords in his drops, in line with most every hyperpop song. And the secret to making your saw chords sound good and, well, big, is to layer them. First and foremost, the patch is a pretty bog standard super saw. As per usual, I'm using Serum, and all you need to do to make this effect in any synth plugin is to set both oscillators to a saw wave, crank the unison as high as it'll go on 1, and then turn the detune up and the blend up as well. For hyperpop, don't turn the detune up too high, you still want to maintain some of that musicality. In your effects, add a multiband compressor, and that's really all you need for the patch. Add a little reverb, some OTT, and you're good to go. Oh, also, add a compressor that sidechains from the kick. This isn't usually great practice, but it should work good for us here. As for the layering, you want one layer that has the higher frequencies cut just a little bit, and then a stereo widener applied just slightly. And just to add that extra little bit of sauce, we're gonna have one more layer as well that has all the higher frequencies cut off, and even more widening applied. And it should sound something like this. Oh, I also noticed that GLAIVE adds an ARP to most of his songs, so I chose one that sounds really cute. You can honestly put whatever you want in here, just make sure it isn't too overpowering. The ARP should sit in the background and add to the melody without it being too in your face. As per usual, make sure there's OTT on there too. Also, add a sub that follows the root note. This is probably the easiest part of the song. Make it pretty distorted. This is hyperpop after all. Last and definitely not least, the vocals. If you're new to music production, this will be the hardest part for you. It certainly was for me. So in typical hyperpop fashion, GLAIVE's vocals are heavily processed, which is good for me because I can't sing, at least not well. So I'm legitimately sorry in advance that you guys have to hear this. I'm gonna try my best. For the vocals on the guitar loop, the mixing is actually pretty simple. You want it to sit really prominently in the mix during this part. And all I did to do that was throw some OTT on there with a boost on the in and out gain just to cut down on some noise. And then I put a huge hall reverb on it. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and don't forget about the holy grail of hyperpop, auto-tune. In typical hyperpop fashion, we're gonna turn the retune speed to almost the fastest it will go, but also turn the humanization up just a little bit. Also, mess with these three knobs to your heart's content. I genuinely feel like these need to be changed based on the individual singer's singing style, so go wild. As for the drop, I struggle with mixing these vocals for a decent bit of time. I had to go ask my roommate, who's a legitimate audio engineer, how to make this happen. GLAIVE's signature is to typically have 2 vocal tracks on 2 different octaves. And while he more than likely sings it twice and does some fancy auto-tune MIDI mapping, I'm going to show you how to do it a little more easily. In Ableton, take your base audio sample, copy paste it to a new track, and then transpose it up by 12 steps or 1 octave. Make sure your audio is in complex pro mode and turn the formants up to 100%. If your voice is on the deeper side like mine, you're also going to want to turn the envelope up, but you should really adjust this based on your own singing style. You can also do this inside auto-tune, but it doesn't sound nearly as good. Although it isn't as amazing as GLAIVE's, with some fancy stereo separation, it's a good starting point, which is all anybody could ask for. As for mastering, I use a glue compressor for a sort of gentle limiter, and then used an amazing free plugin called Loudmax that should really take what we kind of quieted down and crank it back up. GLAIVE's music is loud. Hyperpop in general is loud, and I mean that in the best way. It should rattle your brainstem, dude. I also threw the all-around master preset from Ozone 8 Elements onto it, just for good measure. And with that, we have created the perfect GLAIVE-inspired hyperpop track. Like I said before, this isn't the best, especially not my singing, but it should give you the perfect place to start. So go out there, make a track of your own. As always, feel free to send me what you create on all the social media surrounding your screen, and leave a comment if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm here to help, and I'll do my best to respond to comments where I can, but it can get a little bit overwhelming sometimes. A DM on Instagram is the best way to ensure that I will eventually get to you. I hope this helps you create. I hope this helps you bring your creativity outwards. But above all else, be safe, make good choices, have a wonderful day, and peace out. Hello? Hey, pick up the phone. Hey, please come home. Hey, I keep hearing your voice in my head, but you're not in my bed. And the broken glass is sad. I wish we never would've met, I wish we never would've met. And I'm getting kinda worried, you don't like me anymore. Spent the last few nights alone, just wasted on the floor. Second guessing self in seconds, walking out the door. Waking up and hospitals, becoming mine alone. Worried, you don't like me anymore. Spent the last few nights alone, just wasted on the floor. Second guessing self in seconds, walking out